It was a warm, sunny Saturday afternoon in Maple Grove, a picturesque suburban neighborhood characterized by its neatly trimmed lawns and row upon row of cookie-cutter houses. Birds chirped cheerily from the branches of well-maintained oaks, while the scent of fresh grass filled the air as neighbors mowed their lawns with precision. The sky was an endless canvas of blue with fluffy white clouds lazily drifting by, an idyllic scene that belied the turbulence about to unfold. I, Lily Rivers, stood in my backyard, coffee in hand, staring out the modest parcel of land that had once been my sanctuary. My house was a modest 2-story with a white picket fence that had seen better days, surrounded by meticulously tended gardens that my husband Mark and I had painstakingly nurtured over the years. But on this day, the atmosphere felt tense. The cheerful facade of the neighborhood hid an undercurrent of impending doom, much like the storm clouds gathering far away on the horizon. As I turned back towards the house, still contemplating the incredulous twist my life had taken, I felt a pang of melancholy. What had been a space for family gatherings, barbecues with friends, and afternoons spent watching the kids splash in their inflatable pool was now in jeopardy, thanks to an outlandishly oppressive HOA ruling. Little did I know, things were about to go off the rails in an unexpected direction. Just a month prior, we had received a suspiciously formal notice from the Maple Grove Homeowners Association claiming that my backyard had been declared a public park. It seemed utterly ridiculous, an edict driven by the relentless push to maintain absolute control over the neighborhood, led by none other than Beth Thompson, the self-appointed queen of HOA regulations. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Surely nobody could just take land that was rightfully mine. After all, I had tended to this backyard for years, pouring love and labor into it. It featured a small herb garden, vibrant flowers, and a patch of grass that was a cheerful haven for my children. Yet, as I scoured the red and white notice, the realization began to settle in. This was real, and I had a fight on my hands. This incident had been precipitated by one family's complaint. An overzealous neighbor, unhappy with how I occasionally let my 3 children play with their toys on the grass instead of sending them to the local park. The gate to my yard had somehow been discussed in the monthly HOA meeting that neither Mark nor I had even been aware of. Useless discussions on regulations around land use had turned a small issue into a monarchy of sorts, where Beth wielded power like a sword, cutting down anyone who dared to stray off the path of her strict guidelines. Lily, you can't let this go. Mark had fumed over dinner after reading the notice aloud, his brow furrowed with concern. This is madness. You've worked so hard to make this a home for our kids. Taking a deep breath, I nodded. I know. But what can we do? They've got rules and regulations. Mark's eyes sparkled with a mischievous glint. No, what we're gonna do is fight back, and not quietly. Have you ever thought of building something that will make your backyard a public spectacle? Let's give them a reason to think twice. His words ignited a spark in me. I envisioned the most outrageous backyard transformation possible, a destination that would draw kids and families in droves. What if I built a massive waterslide that would convert my backyard park into a fun-filled paradise? Laughter, joy, and neighborly interaction would ultimately outshine all those oppressive rules. Fast forward 2 weeks, and I was standing in my yard, flanked by a growing pile of colorful plastic, curved tubes, and equipment purchased from various stores across town. I could hardly contain the grin spreading across my face. This was not going to be just any water slide. This would be the slide to end all slides, a marvel of suburban creativity that no HOA ruler could ignore. As the sounds of busy construction filled the air, I felt the tension building. Neighbors gathered on their porches to catch a glimpse of what was unfolding, and I could see the expressions on their faces shift from confusion to skepticism and finally to amusement. They whispered among themselves, but I couldn't dwell on their doubt. My excitement drowned out the negativity. The first obstacle arose when Beth knocked on my front door with her signature clipboard, arms crossed and expression severe. "Lily, this has to stop," she said, her voice dripping with authority. "Your backyard is not a construction site. You need to cancel this project immediately." Crossing my own arms, I met her steely gaze. "Oh, it's not just a construction site, Beth. It's going to be a community feature. A place for kids to enjoy themselves during the summer. Surely you can see the benefit in that? Community feature or not, it's still a violation of our guidelines, she snapped, brandishing her clipboard like a legal weapon. You've already crossed several regulations. Failure to comply could lead to hefty fines. That sounds like a threat, I replied, feeling the tension grow thicker. This is my property and I intend to use it for family fun. A waterslide isn't a permanent structure. It's a seasonal installation. Her expression hardened as she scribbled notes furiously. We will be discussing this again at the next HOA meeting, and I assure you, I will not be silenced. There are consequences for your actions. With a huff, she turned on her heel and marched off, leaving me both angry and invigorated. I dug in my heels. I would not be intimidated. But every day that passed was saturated with increasing stress. Each morning, I would find new complaints in my mailbox, nasty notes delivered anonymously, threats of fines numbered in the hundreds, nothing but venomous spite littering my day. The more I dug into the regulations, however, the more I saw a path forward. On the last Saturday of construction, with the grand reveal just a week away, I received an email from Beth announcing an unscheduled HOA inspection. It was timed deliberately, as though she were waiting for the moment my work was completed. I felt a flicker of panic but refused to let it consume me. With a deep breath, I went over my plans, ensuring everything remained above board. If Beth wanted a fight, I'd give her a showdown she wouldn't forget. The day of the HOA meeting arrived, and I could feel the tension thickening in the air. Residents filed into the community center, chattering anxiously as they took their seats. The room echoed with the sound of whispers and shifting chairs, but beneath it all was a palpable buzz of excitement. Curiosity loomed with every passing moment, as I could practically see all the skeptical faces turning my way in anticipation. They were eager to witness the spectacle that I had created in my backyard. I took a deep breath, my heart racing with mixed feelings of anxiety and exhilaration. It was time to put all my hard work on display. As I caught a glimpse of Beth sitting at the front, her arms crossed and her expression carved in stone, my resolve strengthened. I was ready to show the community what I had accomplished. Finally, when it was time for me to present, I strode to the front of the room, a sense of purpose radiating from me. My hands shook slightly as I clutched the remote to my slideshow presentation, but I plastered on my best confident smile. I clicked through the images I'd compiled, unveiling photos capturing the joy and laughter that filled my backyard. Children racing down the new, colorful waterslide, splashing into the inflatable pool, and friends gathered around family dinners on the patio. This, I began, my voice steady and filled with passion, is what a community deserves. I pointed to the screen where the visuals of merriment flickered. This is more than just a slide. It's a place for memories to be made, a space for fun, for families to gather and bond with one another. We're here to foster joy, not stifle it. As I spoke, I could see nods of agreement and smiles creeping onto the faces of some neighbors in the audience. I shifted my gaze to Beth, whose face was a mask of fury, her lips pressed tightly together. There was no question she was seething beneath the surface, trying hard to regain her grip on the situation. That's all well and good, Lily, she shot back, rising suddenly from her seat, her voice breaking through my presentation with an indignant edge. However, the fact remains, you have converted your property into an illegal amusement park. This is outrageous. You're discussing an installation that completely violates HOA regulations. Tell me, are you trying to create an amusement park in our neighborhood? Amusement park? No, it's a family gathering place, I countered, feeling my heart hammer in my chest. You have to see that. Kids shouldn't just be confined to parks. They should be allowed to have fun at home too. Not everyone has the means to travel to an amusement park. Fury radiated from Beth as she glared at me, her clipboard clutched tightly in her hands. Your definition of fun is not the same as everyone else's, and we try to maintain a standard here in Maple Grove. So the children of this neighborhood should be deprived of that standard? I fired back, tapping my finger on the edge of the podium for emphasis. Isn't it better for them to have a safe space just a few steps from home where they can play, laugh, and feel free? Instead of the spirited debate I expected, we received a low murmur from the audience, whispers that grew louder as residents began to discuss amongst themselves. The atmosphere shifted. I could sense doubt creeping in on the faces of my neighbors, who were now visibly reconsidering their loyalties. A woman stood up in the middle of the crowd. "I have 4 kids, and I can tell you, they love it. They keep asking when we can go back to Lily's." "I'll second that," shouted Mr. Jacobs, an older man from down the street. "My grandchildren had the time of their lives there last weekend. We haven't had fun like that in years." The murmurs grew louder, and I couldn't help but smile as support began to swell around me. It was contagious. An electric energy surged through the room, and hope flickered in my chest. Beth, her composure slipping, clamped her mouth shut, but I could see her flaring nostrils betray her anger. "This is just a temporary high, people. Once the novelty wears off, what remains? What about the noise, the mess? What happens when strangers come to our neighborhood because of your community feature?" A man from the back, either emboldened by the crowd or perhaps driven by frustration, called out, "And what about your endless complaints and restrictions, Beth? You mean to tell us, just because you want everything safe and sound, nobody else can have fun?" The room erupted in a mix of laughter and applause, the tide of support washing over the previous apprehension. I seized this moment to continue building my case. "Here's the thing," I said, leaning forward to engage the audience further. "This waterslide is not just a source of joy for my family. It has sparked interest from our neighbors, reignited friendships, and brought our community together. Imagine this whole neighborhood filled with laughter. Children visiting from next door, families creating bonds over barbecues, and everyone enjoying the summer sunshine. Isn't that worth a little noise?" Beth was visibly seething now, her eyes blazing with the wrath of someone who believed she was losing a battle. "You really think this will bring us together?" "Oh, I know so," I replied confidently. "In fact, I've had families from neighboring areas reach out, excited about a community fun day. With cooperation, we can establish safety regulations and create a pool for families to join. This can be a community event." I held my breath, hoping to see her crack. Her hands trembled slightly on her clipboard as she exchanged glances with the other HOA board members. I could tell they were beginning to shift uncomfortably in their seats, unsure of how to align themselves in this surging wave of support. Then, in an act of sheer desperation, she exclaimed, "I will take this before the city council if I must. You can't just transform your backyard into a public spectacle." "Go right ahead," I replied coolly, my heart hammering in excitement now. "But your threats are empty. You know as well as I do that there are no codes protecting you in this matter. The only thing you're showcasing is your desire for control over how others choose to live." "Lily," Beth said sharply, "you are living in a fantasy. Someone will get hurt out there, and then who will be responsible?" "I'm not afraid, Beth. Parks have inherent risks. We all take those risks every time we leave our homes, but I believe we can mitigate them rather than suffocate the fun." Just then, the room began filling with responses, people weighing in and sharing their views on our neighborhood fun day. Slowly, a woman spoke up, her voice steady. "I support Lily. The kids deserve a place to play, and if it means making some rules that account for safety, let's do that." Then Mr. Jacobs, emboldened by her assertiveness, chimed in again. "We can put rules in place, like supervised play or set times for activities. This idea can be a win-win, folks." Amidst this burgeoning spirit of unity, I resumed my discussion. "Let's celebrate this place where we live. I propose we host a summer splash event, right in my backyard. We can invite everyone, set up community rules, and encourage people to bring a dish or two. No costs, just fun." Cheers erupted from the crowd, filling the air with hope and enthusiasm. It was at that moment that Beth recognized her power slipping away. Her face paled as her authority cracked under the pressure. It was as though the walls she built around her discontent were crumbling piece by piece. In her moment of defeat, she stood up, mouth agape, her eyes darting around the room. "This isn't over, you hear me? I will gather more complaints. I'll." But the murmurs around the room grew louder, drowning out her words. And crowd's response was swift. People began to clap and cheer, their excitement swirling together like a vibrant wave crashing against the shore. I felt buoyed by the sea of support surrounding me. Thank you, everyone. Together, we can create a brighter future for Maple Grove. Let's move forward and make our homes a true community. With Beth storming out of the room, her plans in tatters, I saw glimmers of hope shining in the eyes of my neighbors. The room could barely contain the joy that erupted in the wake of her departure. People stood up one after the other, offering their bootstrap support, and the sense of momentum was staggering. That was the moment the tide truly turned. I had not only gained the support of my neighbors, but had ignited a sense of belonging, the very spirit of community. It was a day I would never forget, a day that proved that through passion and unity, we could reclaim joy where there had once been oppression. As I walked back to my seat, the applause echoed loudly in my ears, and I couldn't help but imagine the vibrant summer days to come, filled with laughter and love instead of hollow regulations. The neighborhood was about to change, forever. In the weeks that followed the HOA meeting, the atmosphere in Maple Grove transformed dramatically. It was as if a refreshing breeze had swept through our community, rustling the leaves of the oak trees and lifting the heavy burden of oppression that had hung over us for too long. With Beth Thompson's grip on power shattered, a wave of optimism washed over everyone, and we were finally willing to embrace the freedom to enjoy our lives without fear of petty rules and regulations. I decided to put my plan for the Summer Splash event into action and discovered that excitement was infectious. In no time, neighbors began volunteering to help. Flower beds popped to life with daisies and sunflowers, and colorful banners were strung across the front of yards. It was a vibrant patchwork of community spirit that replaced the worries of the past. As the designated coordinator, I felt like a proud conductor overseeing an orchestra of joyful collaboration. "Lily, this looks incredible," exclaimed Nicole from down the street as she pulled up in her car, her kids bouncing in the back seat. "I brought some cupcakes for the kids." "Those are going to be a hit," I replied, grinning ear to ear. "I've got everything set up for the Waterslide, and Mark is just finishing the grill. We're going to have burgers and hot dogs too. Plenty for everyone. And have you seen the decorations?" Nicole laughed. "It's amazing. I can't remember the last time we had a neighborhood event that everyone actually wanted to come to." As the preparations unfolded over the week leading to the big day, I took quiet moments to reflect by myself. I wanted this event to symbolize not just fun, but also resilience, a celebration of our strength and unity in the face of adversity. Standing in my backyard, now filled with colorful decorations and laughter already echoing in my mind, I often thought about those dark days when I first received the HOA notice. The memories felt like a distant storm cloud passing overhead. I whispered to myself, "We did it. Together, we fought back." Finally, Saturday arrived, and the air was electric with anticipation. Morning sunlight spilled across the lawns like liquid gold, illuminating the vibrant scene we had created. I stood at the entrance of my yard, welcoming families as they arrived. Laughter bubbled around me, their faces bright with the promise of fun ahead. "Hey, Lily," called out Jenna, a neighbor I had only exchanged polite nods with before. She approached with her children, two sparkly-eyed girls ready for adventure. I packed their swimsuits. "Are we really going to run wild today?" "Absolutely. Get ready for the most ridiculous and fun waterslide experience of your life," I exclaimed, beaming with excitement. Dare I say the best party Maple Grove has ever seen. As the ebb and flow of families arrived, waves of laughter and chatter filled the air. Children sprinted toward the waterslide, squealing as they climbed the steps, while parents gathered around picnic tables laden with food and drinks. There was a shared sense of joy that felt like a balm for our spirits, and I realized how long it had been since we had come together like this. I stood atop the steps leading to the slide, now crowded with excited children. "Okay, everyone, are you ready?" They erupted in cheers, their voices rising like a chorus. I grinned down at them, relishing the moment. With each child that slid down, the atmosphere swelled with pure elation. My heart swelled watching their joy, each splash landing like a burst of laughter in the air. Parents snapped pictures, capturing the delight that had surfaced after years of division. One of my neighbors named Tom, a quiet guy I'd hardly ever spoken to, suddenly burst out. "Lily, This is phenomenal. The kids are going to be talking about this for months. Thank you, Tom. Just wait until we get to the bubble machine. They won't want to leave. I responded, filled with gratitude and joy. As the afternoon wore on, I took a moment to step back and observe everything unfolding before me. Mark walked over with a couple of plates piled high with burgers and hot dogs, while I leaned against the gate, feeling the thrill of what we had built together wash over me. Lily? You should see how excited the kids are, Mark said. His eyes lit with pride. I knew you'd make an impact, but this is something else entirely. Can you believe it? After everything we went through, we're finally free to just enjoy each other's company, I replied, my voice tinged with disbelief. What's even better, Mark added, glancing at the crowd, is that the kids are going to grow up with these memories. They'll know this community isn't just about houses, it's about friendship. Exactly, I said, my heart swelling. This is how a neighborhood should be, together, not divided. As the sun dipped lower in the sky and cast brilliant colors across the horizon, I gathered the families around for a final announcement. The flickering glow of string lights illuminated the makeshift gathering area. Thank you all for being here, I called out, my voice amplified by the excited chatter. Today is a testament to what we can achieve together. We've overcome the negativity that stifled us, and now, let's continue to transform Maple Grove into a place of joy and togetherness. Let's keep this momentum alive. Cheers erupted once more, but this time I noticed a few hesitant faces remain unexcited. My heart raced. I recognized one persistent fact. Beth was still out there. In that moment, I felt a heightened urge to reach out to her, to offer her a hand in the community we were creating. I know some of you may have concerns about the future, and I get it, but let's work together moving forward. I propose we create a community committee to ensure safe and fun gatherings, something everyone can participate in, including those who need a voice. As if on cue, a loud murmur arose in agreement from the crowd. That's a great idea, someone called. Let's turn this into something lasting and not just a one-time event. Another neighbor chimed in, their enthusiasm palpable. After an afternoon filled with laughter, the event began to wind down. The remnants of the food were just about cleared, while the last of the children, knackered from excitement, drifted over to their parents, sleepy but wholly satisfied. Lily, Jenna called, waving me over as she packed up. Thank you so much for this. I had no idea how much we needed to come together like this. You really made it happen. It wasn't just me, I replied, feeling a wave of humility wash over me. This was a community effort. We all contributed to this joy. I'm just grateful we could share it together. As families began to head home, I looked around at the remnants of the event. The empty plates, the colorful decorations, and the laughter still hanging in the air like a sweet perfume. I couldn't help but feel a sense of contentment in my heart. We had achieved something meaningful, a movement toward connection. That night, as I sat on my back porch with Mark, the stars twinkling above us, I couldn't shake the emotional whirlwind I had experienced throughout the day. Do you think this will last? I asked, gazing up into the cosmos, memory after memory flitting through my mind of the day that felt like a tapestry woven of laughter. He wrapped an arm around my shoulder, a warm reassurance. If today proved anything, it's that people want to connect. We've offered them space for friendship, acceptance, and joy. I think you're starting a new era for this place, Lily. Maybe it's true, I mused, resting my head against him. Every once in a while, someone has to stir things up for the better. It's daunting, but I wouldn't trade today for anything. Not for the world. The night settled comfortably around us, and as the laughter from the daytime faded into a soft echo in the past, I knew we had opened a door to endless possibilities. Maple Grove was finally stepping into the light of community spirit, where joy would flourish, friendships would solidify, and the bonds between neighbors would become a legacy. As I allowed the warmth of love to envelop me, I whispered, "Thank you for believing in me, Mark. For standing by my side and inspiring me to keep pushing forward. Today was just the beginning, and I can't wait to see what else is possible." "Neither can I," he replied, a proud smile cresting his lips. As we both gazed at the moon shining brightly in the night sky, I knew our future, along with that of our beloved Maple Grove, was only just beginning.